Yeah, so they're banged up, and Levante David's not going to play. I know Ryan Jensen's dealing with a hip injury. He's their great center. Chris Godwin is dealing with some issues, but I think he's going to play. Obviously, Tom Brady's got a thumb injury, but he's going to play. We know that. Um, and I know JC mentioned their cornerback issues from an injury standpoint. So if you're looking for optimism, like Joe Kraus always wants optimism. They're banged up. They are banged up.
Mac guys here on Birds 365. Thanks for tuning in on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. We've got an hour yet to talk about, or not even 50 some odd minutes. Bucs and Eagles coming up Thursday night, short week. As John just said to our guest, JC Allen, third week on the road, short week. It's still the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming to town. They've looked pretty damn good this year. That's an issue. That's a problem. At least it is for me. But John McMullen is going to tell you why it's not a problem for Nick Sirianni.
Well, I don't know about that.
Confident in his press conference that John just got back from. Yeah, chances are the coach didn't say a whole hell of a lot. But what did he say, Johnny Mac?
Well, it was really quick, number one. Obviously, everybody leans on this short week. We don't have time to do this. We don't have time to do that. We got to do this at 8:30 in the morning. So I do think it's kind of funny. Whereas Jason Kelsey's like, I like it. No, I mean, from a football standpoint, Derek Barnett's going to play, so that's a positive. He kind of tweaked his ankle. I know I sort of came in on the back end there. I heard you talking about Tristan Wirfs. He's having a great young career. That's a really good offensive line overall. Tampa Bay. That's one of the underrated. If there's anything underrated on that team, it's probably their offensive line because it's really good. So that shapes up as strength versus strength, and Wirfs is a big part of that. So you need Josh Sweat and Derek Barnett out there without Brandon Graham as much as possible. And Derek Barnett is going to be able to play, so that's helpful. Dallas Goedert still, they can't talk about people on the COVID list, very similar to the concussion protocol. So they can't give any updates, but you just look at the timing. And I use Zach Ertz as an example because he went on the COVID list before the Dallas game. If people remember, he ended up playing in the game. Dallas was Monday night. He got cleared Saturday. You have to have 2 negative tests, 24 hours apart. And you also have to be asymptomatic. Now, problem with that is when the Eagles had their walkthrough on Monday, Dallas Goedert was listed. All these are estimations because you don't have actual practice, but he was listed as out with an illness. So that indicates to me he had symptoms. So long story short here, Jody, don't expect Dallas Goedert on Thursday night. So, it's going to be Zach Ertz. It's going to be Jack Stoll. Did I say Jack Ertz? Zach Ertz, Jack Stoll. Noah Tagai is back. They could elevate him from the practice squad as a COVID replacement. But I wouldn't expect Dallas Goedert to play. Rob Gronkowski might not play. You might have got more info from JC Allen. I don't know if you asked him that question.
He did say that the coach basically counted Gronkowski out, that he's not going to play. And that they're flying up today. If Antonio Winfield doesn't pass concussion protocol before, they're not even going to put him on the plane. So that one we should know by the time today is over and done with, because we'll find out whether he did get on the plane flying up here to Philadelphia or not.
Yeah, so they're banged up, and Levante David's not going to play. I know Ryan Jensen's dealing with a hip injury. He's their great center. Chris Godwin is dealing with some issues, but I think he's going to play. Obviously, Tom Brady's got a thumb injury, but he's going to play. We know that. And I know JC mentioned their cornerback issues from an injury standpoint. So if you're looking for optimism, Like Joe Kraus always wants optimism. They're banged up. They are banged up.
But was the coach exuding optimism? Because he's a pretty optimistic guy to begin with. But now that he's done his, since they have such shortened time on the field, not enough hours to prepare, have they gotten in enough video time, enough tape time to be able to say, all right, here's what we're going to have to do if we got any chance of slowing down this Bucs offense?
Well, Nick's always optimistic, so you're not. I mean, that's one of the strengths of him. I think that's one of the reasons he has this job because he just lights up rooms and convinced Jeffrey Lurie he was the guy. But um, he did give me an interesting story. He said when they landed from Charlotte, his kids were already asleep, so he took some of his coaches home with him to start prep work on the Bucs immediately. So they all went to Nick Sirianni's house, Shane Steichen, Kevin Patullo, a lot of the offensive coaches to start prep.
And I told JG, you go homework by yourself.
Well, JG,
they just run him off.
I don't know.
Him out.
He didn't give the list of coaches that made the cut. But,
sounds
let's
like
be
the
honest. I
all
always say this about the NFL. It's really co-head coaches. If you're an offensive head coach, JG's probably at his house working, is what I'm trying to say.
He's bringing did he bring his defensive staff home with him?
I don't know.
Do you know that? Did he mention that yesterday when JG was on, or did he keep that under wraps?
He didn't get asked the question. We get more time with Nick than
True.
JG, so you can get into more under the radar stuff. You got to get to the meat and potatoes with the coordinator. But let's be honest. I mean, Nick Sirianni doesn't have a lot to do with the defensive side of the ball. I think it's funny when people act like, because JG, it was the Kansas City game where he admitted he got caught with Tyreek Hill on Eric Wilson in the red zone. And I asked him at the time, I said, well, if you get caught, it's on the field. Everything happens bang, bang. If you've ever been on the field in an NFL game, it's 40 seconds. So when people are looking back on it and saying, all right, what do you do? And then obviously the communication is cut off at 15 seconds. What do you do in that instance if you're a defensive coordinator and you say, oh, they caught me. I can't be in this defense. Now, the first and most obvious thing you never want to do, but you can call timeout and adjust. But, JG let it slip like he can't call timeout. Nick Sirianni's got to call timeout. So I asked, well, what's the process there? And Nick said, I go down and stand next to JG. And by the way, I don't think they wanted to call timeout. I just found it interesting. What is the process for that? Because you got 40 seconds to make a damn decision.
Right.
And if you're getting beat, think about if that's the NFC Championship game or the Super Bowl, you're probably going to call timeout and say, so I thought it was interesting to get them on record. And, that's one of the things. And this is not an Eagle problem. This is a league-wide problem. And that's why I think, and by the way, I think you'll see this more moving forward. You'll have a game management specialist or whatever they want to call it. Somebody will come up with a new title. It's kind of weird. The NFL doesn't pay as much attention to that kind of stuff as they probably should.
All right. One quickie question before we take a timeout. We are hoping to be joined by Barrett Brooks. We're a little late with JC, but we went along with him. So our own Barrett Brooks scheduled to join us coming up next. You and I discussed before you had to break off for Sirianni's press conference, the RPO aspect of the Eagles offense, and that they do it to accentuate what Jalen Hurts does best. I think they're a little heavy on the RPO side right now. I think there can be a better balance, but it's got to be adjusted for the opponent that you're playing every single week. They're playing Tampa. Tampa's the best team against the run in the National Football League. They are this year. They were last year and the year before. Doesn't the RPO lose its edge because you're trying to hide whether you're actually going to run the ball or throw the ball? if we know they're going to throw the ball a ton against Tampa because it only makes too much sense, what does the RPO aspect of it actually buy you? Do you think they'll actually run less RPOs this week because of the opponent than they usually do?
I don't think so, because I think it's a mechanism. One part of it that goes unnoticed. It's a mechanism to make Jalen comfortable. Number one. So think of it like play action, a different form of play action. Where a traditional quarterback would do that. And I would always say to myself, you'll see this in the NFL at times. It'll be 3rd and 15. You're behind the sticks, and you run a play action. And I'm thinking to myself, that split second, why are you doing that? Why are you wasting time?
You're actually handing it off?
Exactly. And coaches say, hey, man, it's just a timing thing. It's a mechanism that the quarterback feels comfortable doing it. Some do, some don't. And they do it to make the quarterback more comfortable, because it doesn't make sense. And it just gives the defensive line another tick to get there early, because they're throwing the football. That's part of it. And I think a lot of people don't talk about that, and the fact that, you're not going to line up and, as I said, and run in a traditional fashion. A, the Eagles are not good at it. B, again, you're playing the team that's the best at stopping it. So they're not going to go away what makes the quarterback feel comfortable. And then you have those quick hitters, and JC mentioned Devin White's had tackling problems. The whole defense has had tackling problems. You start talking about yards after catch. Maybe you can get Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins. I put Quez Watkins above Jalen Reagor these days. Maybe you can get him going in that fashion.
One of the downsides to RPOs, and yeah, I sound like I'm a down on the RPO guy today. I am.
I hate RPOs, by the way, Jody. I hate them.
You and I both.
I think they're the ugliest from an aesthetic standpoint. I've told you this. I think it's horrible to watch.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
I don't care about the aesthetics. I only care about the results. Yeah. Like you said earlier, people, judge scheme. No, they don't judge scheme. They judge results. Well, same thing with me and RPOs. I'm just judging results. And I don't think the results have been good enough. And one of the results has been offensive linemen downfield, basically on a weekly basis with this team out of RPOs. Oh, we got a guest up next to talk about that. Former offensive lineman in the National Football League, current JAKIB media superstar. Oh, yeah, and he works for NBC Sports over there on the cable side. Our buddy Barrett Brook joins us next.